Welcome to FINA Aquatics World. In this month's programme, we check on the progress of some of the world's best swimmers at the Austin Grand Prix. We meet the coach looking to guide diving prodigy Tom Daley to an Olympic gold, and catch the FINA Diving World Cup in London. First stop though, Texas. The second 2012 stop of the USA Swimming Grand Prix Series was at Austin, Texas, at the Lee and Joe Jamail Texas Swimming Center on the campus of the University of Texas. A high-profile cast included Michael Phelps and Ryan Lochte in the men's, while the women's lineup was equally star-studded thanks to the inclusion of Allison Schmidt, Missy Franklin, Katie Hoff, among others. Hoff began as one of the favourites for the women's 400-metre individual medley, which would prove to be a milestone for one of her big rivals, Camille Adams. One of the lower-profile names on the US team sheet, but certainly one to watch, Adams tends to specialise in the tougher races, the 400-metre individual medley, the 200 fly and the distance freestyles. She used it to great effect here.
So as they touch for the last time, 25 metres to go. And it continues to be Adams and Hoff fighting it out for that gold medal. It's a two-horse race. Just pulling a gap there is Hoff at the moment. But does she have enough for the finish? Will be, well, just over 4 minutes 30. Holding on to that lead is Adams. Trying to pull it in, unable to do so. Adams in first, Hoff in second. And it looks as though the Canadian in third.
Well, despite being in the middle of training, Adams raced to an early lead and never looked back. She finished on 4 minutes 38.80, her lifetime best by 4 seconds. The butterfly leg was outstanding, and although Hoff powered back, Adams held on for an impressive win. The women's 200 freestyle event gave Katie Hoff a chance to build on her success as part of the gold medalist 4x200 metre freestyle relay team in Shanghai. She was up against tough competition here though, not least in the shape of in-form Allison Schmidt.
Well, it continues to be Schmidt in the lead at the moment. Just ahead of the American Golden Girl, Missy Franklin. It looks as though at the moment in third, Katie Hoff at the moment. Of course, she picked up the silver medal in the women's 400-metre individual medley. Schmidt holding on to that lead. She has, well, pulled away very well over the last 15 metres. She is comfortably going to touch the wall in first place. Missy Franklin will have to settle for second, and Hoff taking the bronze.
A brilliant 200 free time of 1 minute 55.83 for Schmidt there, which was the third best of her career, and faster than she managed in the World Championships. Meanwhile, Missy Franklin took second in 1 minute 57.86. All eyes in the women's 200-metre backstroke were focused on Melissa Franklin. Franklin is a great all-rounder, but many feel this is her best event. As it is not the strongest of events for the US, the starting 8 featured 6 international swimmers.
Well, this really has been impressive stuff from Missy Franklin. Really has been a class above here in the final of the women's 200-metre backstroke. Continuing to pull away. It's been an impressive time. She's in lane 4. Davies, the Great Britain athlete, in lane 2, holding on to second place at the moment. And it looks as though Stewart in lane 8 holding on to that bronze medal. But it's all about Missy Franklin. She's going to touch the wall in a very impressive time, 2 minutes 08.18 seconds. And it's going to be Georgia Davies of Great Britain taking the silver medal.
Well, Franklin showed impressive form once again to take the gold, but will be wary of Great Britain's Georgina Davis, who came in second in 2 minutes 11.60, within 1/10 of a second of her lifetime best. Katie Hoff was edged out in the 400-metre individual medley earlier by the improving Camille Adams. However, she came into the final of the 200 confident of victory. having narrowly beaten another big rival, Natalie Coughlin, who was competing in this event for only the second time since Beijing.
So as the girls touch for the final straight, touching in first place at the moment, Coughlin. It'll be interesting to see if she can finish this off in the freestyle. Of course, right in behind her, Hoft is very, very strong in the freestyle, already picking up a silver in the 400-meter individual medley tonight. Can she close that gap? She certainly has, so in the last 10 meters, can she catch up? It looks like Coughlin just holding on. Hoft pushing strong for the finish, but it's not going to be enough. Coughlin takes the gold. Hoft in silver, her second silver of the day.
In another gripping encounter, Coughlin proved she was not in the mood to be edged out once again and pushed Hoft into second place on 2 minutes 12.44, ominously 3 seconds faster than last April. And we'll have more from the Austin Grand Prix later. In the meantime, one of the most stunning legacies from the London Olympics will be the Aquatics Centre. Ahead of the big event, many high-profile competitions have already taken place there, including the latest FINA Diving World Cup. Tom Daley was not available, leaving home hopes resting with local boy Peter Waterfield. He was one of the favourites going into the event, but facing plenty of strong international competition. The Chinese team came into the World Cup confident on many fronts, not least in the men's 10-metre platform event. In this discipline, the dives are the most complicated and the degree of difficulty is the highest. Nonetheless, as always, the standard was first class here, and not surprisingly, the final featured 2 Chinese divers. Here is Yue Lin.
Well, there certainly is a very, very important dive here for the Chinese star. Of course, he was leading in the prelim, fell away in the semi-final. Well, he won't be too happy with that. Big splash on entry.
Lin came second to his compatriot Chu Bo at the semi-final stage after winning the preliminary round. Meanwhile, not far behind was local hero Pete Waterfield.
Certainly is a big period for him coming up. Of course, himself and Daley, the high hopes for the British, and that's a great dive. He'll be happy with that.
Well, a great attempt by Waterfield there, much to the joy of the partisan home crowd. He clearly appreciated the home support and soaked up an atmosphere that should put him in good stead come the summer.
It's a stepping stone for me. Use the World Series as some more stepping stones, and then hopefully, come the Olympics, we can do it again.
Well, the final 12 also featured 2 divers from Russia, Gleb Galperin and Viktor Minabayev. Minabayev was especially impressive on the day.
Well, the Russian certainly is in the hunt for a medal here, and well, not bad at all. That could put him in the lead.
Well, Minabayev was in first place after that dive, but he still had to nervously wait for the favourite, China's Chu Bo, who was the last on the platform. Chu was voted Male Diver of the Year in 2011, thanks to his 2 golds in the World Championships in Shanghai and a remarkable 25 perfect 10s in the FINA World Series last year. Here in London, he was once again in imperious form.
Oh yes, beautiful stuff by the king of the 10-metre.
Chu proves once again he will be the man to beat at the Olympics when he returns to this venue in the summer.
I was quite happy with the result today, and I'm excited about the Olympics in the summer. I really hope I can do well there.
Well, moving on to the women's synchronised 3-metre springboard final now. Great Britain's Alicia Blagg and Rebecca Gallantry were representing the last hopes of the home crowd.
Blagg and Gallantry now. It's been a solid afternoon for them. And not a bad finish either.
Well, the Brits knew that even with a partisan crowd, they would be outsiders in such high-profile company. Competition was once again fierce, not least from the American pair, Kelsey Bryant and Abby Johnston. Here is their final dive.
Remember, they did very well in the prelim, and well, a little bit early there, Johnston, but still, they can expect a good score here, the Americans.
A good display by the US pair there, but it was only to gain them 4th place. At least they have a clear idea of what is needed in the coming months. Now they have a major event behind them.
It was a great experience. It's our first big international synchro competition together, and we got our Olympic spot, and we have some other meets to go to, and we're excited, and we're going to work hard so we can come back in August.
Meanwhile, the Canadians also put up a good fight against the overwhelming favourites from China.
Oh, wonderful entry. They certainly have lifted their level today, the Canadians.
That dive was enough to secure a silver for the Canadian pair, and they also got a good idea of what is expected ahead of the summer.
Well, it's really great. It was really the last big meet before the Olympics where everybody was here. So we're really exciting because it was a really good event for us, and it put us, I think, in a really good situation for the Olympics.
But there was never any doubt who the pair to beat would be. The Chinese were simply unbeatable at this London event. Min Chia won the Olympic gold in this discipline in 2008 and started as clear favourite with her current partner, He Qi. They had already picked up gold and silver in their individual 3-metre springboard final, and together they proved to be just as strong.
Wow, they cannot put a foot wrong. See it here in the replay. Wonderful rotation, entry spot on.
Another wonderful display there from the Chinese girls, achieving a score of 345.30 points in what turned out to be an incredible competition overall for the country. He Qi and Wu Minqia's gold here made it a clean sweep for the Chinese, with 6 gold medals in London. On this evidence, few would bet against them doing it all again when they return to London in August. Coming up after the break, we see the men do battle in the Austin Grand Prix. And we meet Andy Banks, the coach hoping to turn Tom Daley into an Olympic hero. Welcome back. In part 2 of FINA Aquatics World, we see how Messrs Phelps, Lockton Company fared in the Austin Grand Prix. But before that, we're in London, the Olympic city, to meet the coach guiding diver Tom Daley to glory.
Behind every successful athlete is a talented and dedicated coach. British diving sensation Tom Daley is no exception, having been nurtured by Andy Banks from the age of 8 years old. Now with the home Olympics in London just around the corner, Banks knows that the spotlight will be on his prodigy more than ever. The coach, though, remains confident that Daley can handle the pressure, having worked with him for so long.
Yeah, I started coaching him when he was 8, so he'd been diving for just under a year, I think, by the time I took him on. And it's always been interesting because obviously he's got a massive talent. You know, he looks great, he spins well, and he's got that fantastic entry into the water, which I'd love to say that I taught him, but actually that's pretty natural.
Emotionally as well as professionally, Banks has seen a big change in Daley, who, when they first met, the coach recalls the youngster crying and refusing to even step onto the diving board.
It's been the emotional side, I think, of him that has been the interesting bit, because he used to get very, very upset either in training or competition if something wasn't going right, and either the training session or the competition would almost be out of the window and forfeited off the back of that. So we had to try and find a way of helping him to discard those emotions and come back in and either carry on with the training session or put the dive behind him and move on to the next dive in the competition. And I think over the 10 years, he's managed to do that pretty well now.
Banks is well aware that the fact that the Olympics will be on home soil piles even more pressure on himself, as well as the youngster. So far, though, Daley is doing well with the attention.
Well, I think, to be honest, he's been at international competition since he can probably remember. He's also had media sticking microphones under his nose since he was knee-high to a grasshopper. So he's kind of used to the fact that there's a lot of interest in him as an individual, both from his diving and just generally anyway. So we're kind of just treating it as business as usual, really. I've always felt that as a coach and as an athlete, you can only really deal with your own performance. Everybody else does theirs, and the outcome is what happens at the end.
Despite the pressure, having what will undoubtedly be huge local support, willing Daley towards the medals should be advantageous, Banks thinks.
Well, Manchester 2002 I was at, and the roof came off that facility, and it was absolutely brilliant to have the home support. And obviously we've seen various countries have their own home support over the years. That you can't you can't take that away at all. The home support is massive, and it really brings the divers up. It also helps to make the judges view us favourably, hopefully, and I think, you know, it's a massive thing.
Looking ahead to London, Banks and Daley are under no illusions as to the kind of quality opposition that will be on show. The challenge is how to prepare the youngster and hopefully provide real competition for the all-conquering Chinese.
Well, at the moment, I guess you've got Kubo, who is the machine, and who everybody views as not only the best diver at the moment, but possibly ever. He can wobble though, so it's not a fait accompli, I don't think. Then you've got a load of other divers that are all very, very good, and Tom is one of those.
And as for London, the recent FINA Diving World Cup and the newly built Aquatic Centre was a chance for competitors to sample the facilities and atmosphere they can expect come August. Banks is clearly impressed with the centre.
Well, we knew the facility was going to be fantastic. We had been in once or twice before, and now that it's dressed, it's even better. The feedback from all the other countries as well is that it's a super facility, and it's right that it should be for an Olympic Games. You know, the quality needs to be there, and it is.
Although the main focus will be on the individual event, Daley will probably also represent his country in the synchronised event, alongside a much more experienced diver, Peter Waterfield.
He's always said that he likes doing synchro because you share the moment with somebody. It's also great that someone like Pete's had so many Olympic experiences and has also been an Olympic medalist. So I think the two of them together, you know, Olympic silver medalist, world champion, put them together on their day, watch out, there's going to be a good performance.
And finally, for Banks and Daley himself, 2012, the year they've been waiting for is finally here. With a magnificent aquatic centre waiting, the stage is set for what will hopefully be the pinnacle of Daley's career. Trying to keep his feet on the ground, his ambitions are clear.
Look, my goals and expectations for the Olympics are just to go out there, try and do the best performance I can, try and soak up all the atmosphere with the support from the home crowd, and obviously go in there and try my best and hopefully win a medal.
Well, back now to the Grand Prix in Austin, Texas, and a look at the men. There was a high-profile group that took to the pool in this one, with world and Olympic champions in many events. And, of course, the mouth-watering prospect of Lochte versus Phelps. Well, speaking of Michael Phelps, an athlete we're almost running out of superlatives for, he started, not surprisingly, as the clear favourite in the 400-metre individual medley in lane 4.
Well, it continues to be all about Michael Phelps at the moment. The 8-time Olympic gold medalist in Beijing, of course, really is the king of the pool, and he's showing us here in Austin what he's capable of, pulling away here in the 400-metre individual medley. Quite a battle taking place. About 10 metres behind, the battle for silver medal. Dwyer in lane 5, Ford in lane 7 as we watch Michael Phelps touching a decent time, 4 minutes 16.95. It's going to come down to the wire for the silver, but it looks like Dwyer in lane 5 takes it out.
Well, in the end, an easy victory for Phelps, who appeared to close down and take things easy over the last 100 metres, touching in on 4 minutes 16.95, over 4 seconds clear of the promising Connor Dwyer in second place. Incidentally, Phelps is still claiming he won't enter himself in this event in London this summer. Maybe with this performance in his back pocket, he may yet reconsider. Meanwhile, the men's 200-metre freestyle drew a big expectant crowd to see Ryan Lochte compete against some of his toughest opponents, not least Ricky Behrens and Matt McLean. Lochte was in lane 7.
So as they turn for the final straight, continuing to struggle at the moment, Ryan Lochte looks like fighting it out in the front is Ricky Behrens and Mac McLean at the moment. Neck and neck, battling it for that gold medal. Lochte continues to struggle in lane number 7. All the actions in the middle. Behrens and McLean for the line. Stroke for stroke. On the touch, and it looks like it was Behrens just ahead of Matt McLean. And well, Lochte outside the podium.
A closely fought three-way race in the end that was tight right up to the finish. Behrens impressively coming from behind in the final 50 to steal first place in 26.85. In the backstroke, the 200-metre men's final really was a battle of the giants. Despite the absence of Tyler Clary, a strong lineup featured Ryan Lochte, still clearly pacing himself in the run-up to the Olympics, and young pretenders Ryan Murphy and Jacob Pebley.
Well, it certainly has been a great meet so far for Matt Grievers. He's looked strong in this 200-metre backstroke final. He's in lane 5, just ahead on the touch. There was Ryan Murphy in lane 8, just in behind him. Lochte continuing to fight, hold on in lane number 4. Still pretty much in training mode is Lochte, but surely he'll want to be on the podium after that disappointment in the 200 free. Just ahead, Matt Grievers, he's going to touch in first place. Lane 8, Ryan Murphy takes the second, and well, Lochte picks up his first medal of the afternoon.
Another win for Matt Grievers underlined his claims to be a strong competitor for Clary and Lochte heading towards the Olympics. Lochte was edged into third by 16-year-old Ryan Murphy, whose 1 minute 58.69 was just 2/10 off his lifetime best. With Matt Grievers already having won the 200-metre backstroke, he once again faced tough competition in a star-studded 100-metre lineup featuring Michael Phelps and Ryan Lochte.
So on the touch, it's very, very tight. It's been a great start to this race, and it looked as though it was Matt Grievers who, of course, is going for the double here after clinching the 200-metre backstroke earlier here this afternoon. Neck and neck, Phelps putting pressure, as is David Plummer. All the action in the centre of the pool, out wide. Lochte in lane 1, really struggling. It's a 3-horse race. Grievers just holding on at the moment. It's going to come down to the touch, and he touches in first place. And it looked as though Phelps has to settle for bronze.
Well, that man Grievers once again proved he's comfortable against the best in the world and coming into top form at just the right time, with 53.55, just ahead of David Plummer and Michael Phelps in second and third, respectively. Lochte, meanwhile, was well off the pace, finishing 6th. Well, all eyes turned once again to the dynamic duo Phelps and Lochte as they went head-to-head in the 200-metre individual medley.
Well, he really is incredible to watch, is Michael Phelps. He continues to dominate here in the men's 200-metre individual medley. Of course, already picking up the 400 earlier today. And he really is easing up. He's just cruising. Lane number 3, Lochte just closing the gap, but it's not going to be enough. It's going to be all about Michael Phelps once again. Lochte will pick up his second medal of the day. The fight is for third, though, and it's looking like Dwyer in lane number 2 takes it out. What a final.
Phelps looked visibly tired towards the end, but he still cruised to a great time of 1 minute 58.52, comfortably beating Lochte into second and Connor Dwyer in third. While the Austin Grand Prix proved to be a good meet for Phelps, Ryan Lochte still seems to be pacing himself in preparation for the months ahead. Moreover, as if we didn't need reminding, the event also underlined the strength in depth of the American women in Olympic year.
In the open water, the FINA 10-kilometre Marathon Swimming World Cup kicked off for 2012 in Santos, Brazil. Favourite in the men's race, which featured 7 Olympic qualifiers from last year's World Championships, was Spyros Giannottis. Born in Liverpool but representing his native Greece, Giannottis has already swum for his country in the last 3 Olympics and snatched his first world title in Shanghai last year. It was incredibly tight at the finish line, but no great surprise to see Giannottis take the honours, along with the $20,000 in prize money. Nicola Bolsonaro and Canada's Richard Weinberger took second and third. Meanwhile, the women's event would be a straight showdown between Germany's Angela Maurer, who qualified for London 2012 thanks to her 8th place in last year's FINA World Championships in Shanghai, and Martina Grimaldi from Italy. Grimaldi, silver medalist in Shanghai and one of the favourites for Olympic gold this year, was in the leading pack right from the outset and paced herself well to record a victory in 2 hours 22.23. From Brazil, it was then on to Viedma in Argentina. It turned out to be same again in the men's. with the ever-impressive Spiros Gianottis dominating the race to touch the finishing line with a time of 1 hour 55.29. Meanwhile, in the women's event, with Martina Grimaldi not taking part, it turned into a triumph for Team USA, with Eva Fabian and Hayley Anderson respectively taking the top 2 spots.
Well, that's it for this episode. We'll be back in a month's time with more aquatics action. Until then, thanks for watching. Bye for now.